This is an interesting problem, and this is a problem of straight line motion and with constant acceleration, right? So you can see here what's said. The problem says that a ball of moist clay, clay ball we can say, ball of moist clay dropped from a height travels for 15 seconds before hitting the ground. It is in contact with the ground for 0.2 seconds before coming completely to rest. Okay, the clay ball, you can say it will settle, so it would touch the ground, but it won't immediately come, all of it will not just stop. It would, because it's a clay, it settles down, so it takes little time for everything to be come to rest. Okay, so before it is in contact with the ground for 0.2 seconds before coming completely to rest. Assuming acceleration due to gravity as 10 meters per second square, find the average acceleration during the time it is in contact with the ground. During the time it is in contact with the ground, what is the average acceleration of the ball? Okay, before we go to the clay ball, I would like to repeat something which I have said already in my previous videos. If, let's say, this ball is dropped, it reaches the ground. So when dropping, initial velocity is 0, and it is going to reach the ground. So if I ask what is the final velocity, often students say it's 0 because it is hitting the ground. But here please note, final means just before it hits the ground, or with what velocity it hits the ground. That is final, please note. After it reaches the ground, it is becoming 0, that's the latter thing. But here when you say final, because as long as the ball is in gravitational moving with gravitational acceleration, it's under gravitational force, that is what is final. So that means just before hitting the ground. With what velocity it is hitting the ground, that is final velocity. Okay, so please have this in mind. That's point number 1. And in our case, this ball is now, in this problem, this ball is a clay ball. It's a clay ball. So as I explained to you, a clay ball, when it hits the ground, not all of it will be become stationary. It would take little time for it settles down, one can say. One can imagine this, right? And the contact time with the ground is 0.2 second. Okay, and we are asked what is the acceleration during this. So what is the acceleration during the time it is in contact with the ground? Okay, it is in contact with the ground. So let's say this is the height from which the clay ball is thrown. Okay, and I can say that suppose the clay ball comes here and it reaches the ground, but it's going to take certain time to settle. So let's say after settling, it's like going to settle like this. Okay, one can say that. So it reaches and then it settles. Okay, so first let's find out. So you know that the time taken is 15 seconds. 15 seconds. You are told that it's dropped. So we can say initial velocity downward, this is 0 because it's just dropped. So since we want to find out acceleration while the clay ball is in contact with the ground, we want to find out the velocity with which it is hitting the ground. And then it is becoming stationary. Then the velocity becomes 0. And that is the change in velocity we are going to consider. Okay, so we'll find out the velocity with which it is hitting the ground, and that will be your initial velocity as far as when the clay is touching the ground. After it is touching the ground with that velocity, let's say v, which we want to find out, it is going to be downward. We'll find out that. Then final velocity will be 0 when the clay ball is settled, right? And then we can say that change in velocity upon time is acceleration. That's how we are going to do. So how would you find out this velocity v, the velocity with which the clay ball hits the ground? It's simple. We are going to use convenient kinematic equation, and that convenient kinematic equation is v is equal to u plus at. Okay, v is u plus at. Let's have a sign convention. If we say, we can have any sign convention. Let's say downward as negative. That's generally we do. So we can write v is equal to u is 0, initial velocity, a is 10, that I'll put with minus sign because downward, acceleration is downward, that is 10, time for which it has traveled is 15. So final velocity is 150 meters per second. So it reaches the ground, it is touching the ground with the initial velocity of minus 150 meters per second. Then it is coming to rest. Okay, so we can say now, if you want to find out acceleration, which we are asked, final velocity, final when it settles down is 0. So it is 0. Initial velocity is minus 150, right? So it's 0 minus of 150 upon time. Right, change in velocity upon time, that's acceleration, and the time is it's 0.2 seconds, right? It is in the time with when the ball is in contact with the ground is 0.2, so time is 0.2. So if you do this, so this is going to be plus 150 upon 0.2. Okay, so plus 150 upon 0.2, and you will see this will be acceleration A is going to be 150 into 10 by 2, and this is 1500 by 2, it is 750 meters per second square. Please note, it's acceleration, and sign is positive. Why? Because the ball, the downward direction we are taking considering negative, and the ball is slowing down. Okay, so clay ball is slowing down, it is coming to rest, so acceleration must be upward, right? So this is 750 meters per second. Okay, thank you.